The single fastest way to melt visceral belly fat is to stop eating added sugar. In fact, health researchers have found added sugar is killing more people than tobacco, and most of you are consuming it 3, 4, even 5 times above the recommended daily limit without realizing it. It's one of the biggest causes of visceral fat gain, and it's why you likely experience brain fog, daily fatigue, and feel decades older than you actually are. I'm Dr. David, a functional medicine practitioner and doctor of natural medicine. And today I want to tell you everything I know about added sugar, how it hides in your food, how it manufactures dangerous visceral fat inside your body, and most importantly, how to reverse its effects starting as soon as tonight. See, when you eat a piece of whole fruit, the sugar inside it comes packaged with fiber, vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, and antioxidants. Your body does not just receive sweetness, it receives a complete biological package that helps it process that sugar properly. This is what I call whole food sugar. Natural, biologically supported, the way nature delivered it. Now, take that same sugar, strip away the fiber, remove the minerals, concentrate it through industrial processing, and inject it into a packaged food or a beverage. This is added sugar, manufactured sugar. Sugar that has been extracted, refined, and concentrated to the point where it carries nothing biological for your body. It is just a pure, isolated hit of sweetness with zero nutritional support, designed to override your satiety signals and keep you consuming more. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Added sugar is everywhere. High-fructose corn syrup, sucrose, dextrose, maltose, rice syrup, agave nectar, coconut sugar, fruit juice concentrates, honey roasted this, brown sugar that, maple glaze the other. These are all forms of added sugar, and they are hiding in foods most people eat every single day without realizing it. Salad dressings, pasta sauces, granola bars, sports drinks, flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals marketed as healthy, even the bread at your local sandwich shop. Now, here is how added sugar is different from whole food sugar. When whole food sugar enters your body, the fiber slows absorption. The minerals and nutrients arrive intact. The polyphenols modulate the liver's response. The body handles the incoming energy smoothly, gradually, and without being overwhelmed. When added sugar enters your body, none of that support exists. The fiber is gone, the minerals are gone, the polyphenols are gone. The body receives a large, fast, concentrated energy load with nothing to help manage it. This places enormous stress on your metabolic systems, especially your liver, which now has to process a flood of concentrated sugar completely on its own. But the real danger is not just the stress on your liver. The real problem begins when this sugar starts feeding a very specific and very dangerous type of fat. And this starts inside your liver. When you consume added sugar, a large portion of it is fructose. And fructose is different from other sugars because almost no other tissue in your body can process it. So it goes straight to the liver. When fructose arrives in small amounts from whole foods, the liver handles it fine. But when it arrives in large concentrated doses through sodas, sweetened coffee drinks, packaged snacks, energy bars, and sugar-laden sauces, the liver gets completely overwhelmed. And when the liver cannot keep up, it does the only thing it can. It converts that excess fructose into fat. This process is called de novo lipogenesis, which simply means the liver is manufacturing new fat from sugar, right there inside your abdomen. Not slowly, not over weeks. Within hours of consumption, the liver is actively producing fat from the sugar you ate. Now, this newly created fat does not go to your arms or legs. It does not sit just under your skin where you can see it or pinch it. It does not turn into the soft, pinchable fat most people obsess over. It accumulates around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, and your other abdominal organs. This is visceral fat, and visceral fat is nothing like the fat on the surface of your body. It does not just sit there passively, it is metabolically active. It functions almost like a rogue organ inside your abdomen, constantly releasing inflammatory chemicals called cytokines directly into your bloodstream, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even while you sleep. The more added sugar you consume, the more fructose floods the liver. The more the liver converts to fat. the more visceral fat accumulates, and the more inflammatory signals get released into your body. At the same time, your insulin sensitivity starts to decline. Your cells stop responding to insulin properly. Your pancreas has to pump out more and more insulin just to keep blood sugar controlled. That makes it easier for your body to store even more fat and harder for it to burn any of it. So the cycle locks in. Added sugar overwhelms the liver. The liver manufactures visceral fat. Visceral fat drives inflammation. That inflammation worsens insulin resistance. And insulin resistance makes the entire problem worse with every meal you eat. Most people try to fix this by cutting calories or exercising more. But if added sugar is still coming in, the liver keeps manufacturing fat, and the cycle never breaks. In fact, the cycle gets worse because added sugar goes beyond just visceral fat production, which means the biggest danger starts after that visceral fat is manufactured. You see, visceral fat is constantly releasing inflammatory chemicals directly into your bloodstream, and that inflammation travels everywhere. It hits your brain, it hits your blood vessels, it hits your immune system. Everything downstream gets affected. When inflammatory signals reach your brain, they interfere with how your neurons produce and use energy. Your brain is the most energy-demanding organ in your body. It needs a steady, clean supply of fuel to function properly. Inflammation disrupts that supply. It slows down neuronal communication. It reduces processing speed. It makes thinking feel heavy, foggy, and effortful. This results in brain fog. You have been there. You have sat down to focus on something important and felt like your thoughts were moving through wet cement. And it is not random. It has a direct biological cause sitting inside your abdomen, manufactured from the added sugar you ate yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. Then, visceral fat affects your energy. See, your mitochondria are the energy-producing units inside every cell. They power everything. Your muscles, your organs, your brain, your immune system, but mitochondria are extremely sensitive to inflammatory stress. When chronic inflammation is present, mitochondrial function declines. They produce less energy and recover more slowly. And the result is that heavy, dragging fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to fix. You sleep 8 hours and wake up feeling like you slept 4. You drag yourself through the afternoon, you rely on caffeine to function, and the cycle of fatigue, more sugar, more visceral fat, more inflammation, deeper fatigue, continues to deepen. And then there is the dangerous effect of visceral fat on your blood vessels. You see, visceral fat damages the lining of your blood vessels over time. The delicate inner surface, the endothelium, becomes inflamed, stiffened, and dysfunctional. Blood flow becomes restricted. Less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach your brain and your vital organs. Plaques begin forming more easily. This is one of the reasons visceral fat is so strongly linked to heart disease, cognitive decline, type 2 diabetes, and accelerated biological aging. And most of this is invisible on standard lab work. Your basic blood work can look completely normal. Your doctor may run a standard lipid panel, see nothing dramatic, and send you home. Meanwhile, visceral fat is quietly driving inflammation, damaging your blood vessels, and degrading your brain function in the background. Many people feel decades older than they are, and they have no idea why. Their thyroid looks fine, their basic metabolic panel looks fine. But internally, the inflammatory cascade, driven by visceral fat, is advancing every single day. And it all started with added sugar that no one warned you about. The sugar hiding in your morning coffee. The sugar hiding in your afternoon snack. The sugar hiding in the sauce on your dinner. Small, repeated doses that the liver converted to fat, that the fat released inflammation, that the inflammation damaged your cells, that compounded across months and years into the fatigue, brain fog, and accelerated aging you are feeling right now. So the question is, what do you actually do about it? Because awareness alone does not change physiology. Action does. The goal here is to break the cycle, stop the liver from manufacturing visceral fat, reduce the inflammation that is already circulating, restore the metabolic environment your brain, your mitochondria, and your cardiovascular system depend on, and here is how you do that. Start by cutting out added sugar completely. As long as added sugar is coming in, the liver keeps converting fructose into visceral fat. The cycle cannot break if the input never stops. Read every label. Look for the 7 or 8 different names added sugar goes by. Cut them out one by one. Replace them with whole food alternatives. Stevia, monk fruit, and small amounts of raw honey can give you sweetness without the metabolic damage. Whole fruits in moderation are fine because their fiber naturally slows sugar absorption. The point is removing concentrated, isolated added sugar from your daily intake. You do not have to eliminate sweetness entirely. You just have to replace added sugar with whole food sugar. And another powerful step is to eat more protein. When you cut added sugar, you need something to replace the calories and keep hunger under control. Protein does this brilliantly. High protein intake does 3 things at once. Number 1, it preserves your muscle mass, which is critical for insulin sensitivity and glucose disposal. Number 2, it keeps you full, which reduces the urge to reach for sugar between meals. Number 3, it supports cellular repair, supplying the amino acids your body needs to recover from the inflammatory damage visceral fat has already caused. So aim for high-quality protein at every meal. Eggs, meat, fish, and poultry. You can also do grass-fed or organic dairy like unsweetened Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. All of those are excellent protein choices that stabilize blood sugar and reduce visceral fat accumulation. Then, do resistance training. This step is non-negotiable, particularly as you age. You see, muscle is the primary tissue that clears glucose from your bloodstream. The more metabolically active muscle you have, the better your insulin sensitivity, and the harder it becomes for the body to accumulate visceral fat. Resistance training 2 to 3 times per week preserves existing muscle and builds new lean tissue over time. This directly improves how your body handles incoming sugar and carbohydrates. It also increases mitochondrial density, which means more energy production capacity in every cell, including the brain. You do not need a gym. Bodyweight exercises at home, done consistently, are profoundly effective. Another powerful tool is to walk after meals. This is one of the simplest and most underrated tools available. A 10 to 15-minute walk after eating improves glucose clearance dramatically. Instead of the post-meal blood sugar spike sitting in your bloodstream and being converted to fat by the liver, your muscles absorb it and use it for movement. Over time, this habit alone can improve insulin sensitivity and reduce the amount of fuel available for visceral fat production. Walk after lunch, walk after dinner, make it a non-negotiable part of every meal. And of course, you want to prioritize sleep. We know poor sleep raises cortisol. Elevated cortisol then raises blood sugar. Elevated blood sugar raises insulin, and elevated insulin promotes fat storage, particularly that visceral fat around your organs. This is why people who sleep poorly tend to carry more belly fat even when their diet is relatively clean. Sleep is where the body repairs, regulates hormones, clears inflammatory waste from the brain through the glymphatic system, and consolidates metabolic health. So do not sleep on sleep. You have got to prioritize it. 7 to 9 hours, consistent timing, dark room, cool temperature, minimal screens before bed. Now let us move to the most frequently asked questions I get about added sugar and its connection to visceral fat and overall health. Question number 1. Are natural sugars like honey, maple syrup, and coconut sugar actually different from table sugar, or are they just the same thing in disguise? And this is one of the most common misconceptions in nutrition. The honest answer is nuanced. Yes, raw honey contains trace amounts of enzymes, antioxidants, and beneficial plant compounds. Maple syrup contains manganese and polyphenols. Coconut sugar contains small amounts of fiber. But here is what most people miss. These are still concentrated sources of sugar that hit the liver rapidly when consumed in large amounts. They are better than refined table sugar. They are not the same as eating a whole piece of fruit with its full fiber matrix intact. If visceral fat reduction is your primary goal, treat all concentrated sweeteners as added sugar for the first 90 days. Once your metabolism has normalized, you can reintroduce small amounts of raw honey or pure maple syrup as occasional ingredients, but they are not unlimited. They are tools, not staples. Question number 2. Does alcohol behave like added sugar in the liver? The answer is yes, and in some ways it is even more damaging. Alcohol is processed almost exclusively by the liver. exactly like fructose. You see, when you drink alcohol, the liver prioritizes breaking it down above everything else, including fat burning. During that entire window, fat metabolism stops completely. On top of that, alcohol converts into acetaldehyde, a toxic byproduct that directly damages liver cells and drives inflammation. Regular alcohol consumption combined with added sugar intake creates a double burden on the liver that accelerates visceral fat accumulation significantly faster than either one of those things alone. If visceral fat reduction is your goal, alcohol is one of the first things to remove, or at minimum to restrict to very occasional consumption while your metabolism resets. Question number 3. Why does visceral fat keep building even when someone is eating less and exercising more? This is one of the most frustrating situations people face. The reason it happens is that calorie restriction and exercise alone are not going to fix the liver. You see, if added sugar is still coming in through condiments, sauces, flavored drinks, or packaged snacks, the liver keeps converting fructose into visceral fat, regardless of how much you are exercising or how little you are eating overall. Plus, extreme calorie restriction raises cortisol, and that raises insulin, which actively promotes visceral fat storage. The body interprets severe dieting as a stress signal and responds by protecting its visceral fat reserves. This is why targeting the specific input, added sugar, matters far more than simply eating less. Visceral fat is responsive to the right intervention. That intervention is removing the manufactured sugar input, restoring insulin sensitivity, lowering inflammation, and giving the body a clean metabolic environment in which it can finally let go of the fat it has been storing around your organs. So visceral fat is not a willpower problem. It is not simply about eating too much or moving too little. It is a metabolic problem driven by a specific input, added sugar, that overwhelms the liver and degrades your brain, your energy, and your cardiovascular system from the inside out. The only solution is to give your body the conditions it needs to clear the visceral fat that has been silently driving the problem all along. Remove the added sugar input, feed your muscles and your mitochondria, move consistently, sleep deeply, and then watch what happens to your energy, your clarity, your waistline, and your biomarkers over the next 90 days. The body wants to heal. It has been waiting for the conditions to be right. You just have to provide them. So now you know the key strategies to burn that dangerous visceral fat by removing added sugar from your life. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to check out my full 90-day metabolic reset guide. I will have a link in the show notes, of course. Subscribe so you never miss one of these trainings, and drop a comment below and let me know what you are going to start doing today to remove added sugar and burn through the visceral fat that has been holding you back. And of course, be blessed.